Hi everyone, welcome back. Normally everything should be functioning right now. I had some issues regarding audio. So first, the stream appears to have cut out, so I restarted it, and then my audio from the airplane cut out, so I got that back through a different channel as well. So let's hope that nothing else breaks tonight, and let's continue with our before takeoff checks. So brake temperatures are within limits, they are pretty cold. Takeoff clearance is obtained, approach is clear, and the runway is clear. Engine mode, since it's raining, I'll go to ignition start. Pack 1 and 2 are on. Exterior lights will go runway, landing lights, and noise light to takeoff. And strobe to on. Transponder to TARA, and weather radar to system 1. I will go weather plus turbulence. Okay, before takeoff checklist is complete. So we'll go park brake released. Okay, so my takeoff trim wasn't set yet. Let's make that down points. Point 7. Get moving onto the runway. Alright, it is 12 degrees, but we'll be in the cloud pretty soon, so I'll go engine and wing anti-icing as required is on. Get on the runway, select 50% of N1. Get my departure plate up here. Runway is checked, and then takeoff. So 50%. Start our chrono. Manflex 58, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue. .100 knots. Rotate. Positive rates, gear up, nav. .400. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Speed is checked, flaps 1. And we will follow the flight directors on the departure. And speed checked, flaps up. We want to be above 5,000 feet for treks. And we don't want to accelerate above 250 knots. We'll go after takeoff, lights are as required. So precipitation wise we're fine, we'll go engine mode selector normal. Okay, we'll leave anti-icing on. Our flaps up, speed brakes retracted. And we'll follow the departure. Then it will be about now, I don't know when they do it here, but we might be starting to expect a clearance to flight level 350, which is our cruising level. So we'll set 350 in our mode control panel. Just past 10,000 feet, so we'll go landing lights off and we'll keep the passengers in their seats since we are flying through some cloud which can be bumpy. And we will go autopilot 1 on. Currently we are accelerating to our cruise climb speed. Once we get there you'll see that our climb rate will increase a bit again. Currently we're not climbing that fast. Alright, if you are just joining us, I would like to welcome you aboard of American Flight 3756, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we are Flight American 3756 en route from Dallas to New Orleans. We are currently in our climb to cruise, and we're expected to cruise at flight level 350. We are at 17,000 feet currently, and at 18,000 feet we will select our altimeters as required. So right now we are no longer flying through cloud, and I assume that we're going to be above the cloud there. If not, then we're going to turn these on, but it looks like we can go engine and wing anti-ice off now. We are pretty smooth air, so let's let the passengers loose. There's 18,000 feet, let's go standard. Technically I should have done that before, however we're in the simulator, they're not gonna file a report. and check that all 3 are in standard baro now. The difference also was so minor because we were at 29093 was the altimeter in Dallas, and 29092 is standard baro, so just 1.01 inches of mercury. It's not really gonna make that big of a difference. It's about 1 hectopascal. I'm not making a proper calculation, however. Alright, looks like we're nicely climbing above these clouds. We're keeping an eye on our weather radar, since in the briefing, if you didn't see, we discussed the bad weather that was going on actually. There is some thunderstorms in the New Orleans area. You want to be very aware of those, since if there's one kind of weather that is very capable of bringing down an airliner, it's big thunderstorms. I guess there's a lot of energy in the air in the area, which is causing these thunderstorms to sprawl up and to be able to affect us. But we have our weather radar on and nothing is depicting currently, so... And let's check again, it's actually on. Not that we have... it accidentally turned off. And since we're not in the takeoff or landing phase, we can turn off predictive wind shear as well. Approaching Jane, and let's do a fuel check at Jane. So I'll go on my tablet to my Simbri flight plan, and it has estimated fuels for every waypoint. So we'll go check here. Jane, we are estimating to have 7.1 tons on board. We are 10 miles from Jane currently, and we have 6.8. So we have burned more fuel than we should have. For those of you who have been watching already, I have this post-it note, and I use these post-its to write down fuel and fuel scores. So I'll write down the waypoint's name, and then a fuel score is the difference between your estimate and your actual fuel. So it's like +1 or -5, or yeah, if you ever have -5, you have an issue. And we use this to analyze a trend in the fuel. In a real airline, you would also do this stuff every half an hour. You would do a quick fuel check and see and check out if you're burning as much fuel as you're expecting. And if you burn more than you're expecting, it might be pointing out to a leak in the system or something. It might be cause to divert if you're not gonna make it. So I quickly switched off these lights. We are 1.4 miles from Jane, and that's at Jane. Let's call this 6.8. So we'll go Juliet, Alpha, November, Echo, and we're supposed to have 7.1. We have 6.8, so we are minus 0.3. So I've written this down, top of the page. And when we get to Marsh, I'm gonna do the same. And if it's still the same or worse, then we can start getting a little worried. If it's the same or better, we should have enough fuel on board to make it there. Just to verify, I'm going to see how much extra fuel I brought on board. So the extra fuel is 2.1 tons. So as long as we're not 2.1 tons short on fuel, we still have all the legal limitations when we get to New Orleans. So legally speaking, you want to land with some fuel left, which is your final reserve fuel. You want to have your alternate fuel as well if you don't go to the alternate. And in the best, you should have your contingency left, but you don't need to have it. You can have spent it on board. Alright, now I'm gonna explain something about my navigation display. So the right display of the two is the navigation display, and you can see the waypoint Marsh, and just behind the waypoint Marsh you have the blue arrow, and it's pointed, it's moving up and then it's leveling off. So it's indicating that's the point where we reach our cruising altitude, called our top of climb. Also, our top of climb is marked in our flight plan, and we have an estimated fuel reading, we have an estimated time, and we have an estimated position of that top of climb, and we're gonna do a cross check once we get there. Also, since we didn't do one at Jane, I'm going to do a ECAM check. So we will go, this is our ECAM system, and we can go through all of its different pages here. So we'll go to the engine page first, then check if our engines are all looking happy. So the left side is for the left engine, the right side is for the right engine. Nothing is abnormal, and all values are in the green, as I would say. Bleed air wise, that's our air system, our pneumatic system. We can see that there are no overtemps and no overpressures anywhere, so everything is still very fine. Then pressurization wise, you can see our delta pressure, our pressure differential between the cabin and the outside is also still within the limit, and our cabin altitude is still breathable, so it can go up to 8,000 feet, basically, to be comfortable still. Then electrics wise, we have all values are in the green. Our hydraulic page shows all values in the green. Fuel wise, we are nicely balanced compared to both of our wings. The temperature in the cabin is still nice and comfortable, and our flight controls are indicating normal deflections. So we did a quick check here, and now we are 25 miles from Marsh, and at flight level 310 currently. So we're getting close to our cruising altitude. So there's currently nothing really happening, as you can see, apart from that I am monitoring all systems, and I am monitoring that our airplane is flying in the correct direction, at our correct speed, and still climbing nicely to our cruising altitude. If we happen to get too slow or the autopilot starts doing strange stuff, you want to be ready to intervene quickly, and that's very important. That's why even when you're flying on automatics, on automation, you have to be really aware of what your airplane is doing. And part of the importance of that is shown here. So you're looking at your PFD all of the time, and they put this strip up here. It's called the flight mode annunciators, and they put it up there so it's straight in your eyesight, and they didn't put it up somewhere here. It's right there in front of you, and it displays in what modes you are flying currently. So the flight director it's telling the autopilot, yeah, it's indicating to you what the autopilot is trying to achieve, and you can see what it's trying to do compared with the flight mode annunciator. So we can see that the left side is for auto thrust. So that's this button enabled here. We're in thrust climb, so our thrust setting is automatically set to climb power to get us to climb at the most efficient speed. So then climb here indicates that we are climbing at climb thrust at a pitch attitude, which would give us our cruise climb speed. So the engines aren't controlling how fast we go, it's the way that we are pointed up into the sky that is controlling how fast we go. And then nav mode here is our lateral path. It indicates that we are following our flight management and guidance system, which we have programmed in our computer there. So it's flying on GPS. We just are about to cross Mars. We already started our turn at Mars, which means that I can go check fuel for Mars here, which is estimated 6.6, and we have 6.4. So we are currently minus 0.2. I'll write this down. And the good news is, we just before at Jane were at minus 0.3. So we gained 0.1 in fuel here, which is a good trend that I would like to see continue for the rest of the flight. And we are approaching our cruising altitude now. As we just passed our waypoint, I'm gonna go do another, cycling through my views here, another quick of these checks. So engines nominal, bleed airs are checked, electrics are checked, hydraulics look good, fuel is balanced, cabin is checked, and flight controls are nominal. So everything looks very stable, very nicely, everything that we expect. So now we should be seeing Alt star pretty soon, as we are intercepting our cruise altitude. You see that altitude is blue, so there's Alt star and Mach, and then this will become Alt cruise. So the new flight modes that we have here indicated mean that our auto throttle is now no longer pinned at climb thrust. It means that it's now trying to maintain a set Mach number, and a Mach number is just like kilometers per hour, a unit of speed. So we're flying 0.73, Mach 0.73 if I'm correct, is our cruising speed, and it's trying to maintain this. So then altitude cruise means that we are flying the altitude that the FMGS determines is our cruise altitude. So we entered flight level 350 as our cruising altitude into the computer, and it's now maintaining that, and the nav has still remained the same. And we can also see, continuing on that flight mode annunciator stuff here, that we have 2 flight directors enabled, and the autopilot from the left side is enabled, and auto thrust is also enabled. So the far right element of our screen shows all our modes that are actually, all our computers that are flying and calculating stuff. So currently we are in the cruise. I'm gonna select below on my TCAS. I explained why you do this in an earlier video, so reference that if you want to know more. Right now I'm gonna take a short break, and I will see you guys in a quick second. Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Stu for Flying, and welcome on board American Flight 3756 with service to New Orleans. We are currently just passing Zalia, and I am going to do a fuel check here. Zalia should give us 6.0 on board, and we have 6.0 on board, so we are plus or minus 0, which is nice because we came from minus 0.3 and then minus 0.2, so we are trending in the correct sense. So let's write this down. Zalia plus minus 0. Perfect, and then we'll go check. We are 86 miles away from our top of descent, so I'll start my descent preparations. So we'll go select the pressure page here and see landing elevation is automatic. Then we will check our arrival checklist, so we will see we have ILS-11 via AUDAD, via the AUDAD-1 arrival, and using LSC Lima Sierra uniform as our transition. This is correct. And set. Then we will go to descent page, check that it's managed. Approach phase. So we will go get our weather information. I did do a quick update already for myself. Clouds are scattered 2800, broken 7000. 10 statute miles of visibility. So in terms of approach that we are going to do is just a Cat 1. And there are no thunderstorms or showers in the area, so weather is actually pretty okay, luckily. So let's see, altimeter is 29999, so let's fill that in. 9.99 into the QNH section. Then we'll go temperature is 24. Wind is 2308. Wait a second. As far as I know, that makes that the airport's runway 11 is no longer favorable, and we should be using runway 29. However, I'm not sure if we have the approach for runway 29. Let's see if we can get that plate up. Approach runway 29, ILS 29. It's a regular ILS, so we can fly that. Okay, let's then change this. We want flight plan, arrival. We still have just enough time, so we'll go ILS 29, AUDAD 1. Yeah, we'll go via Hotel Romeo Victor. We'll do that. And Lima Sierra uniform. There it is. This is all set. Insert. And we will remove this discontinuity. So currently we're going to Sierra Whiskey Bravo. Oh, we were just barely in time before it screwed everything up. If you want to see what happens if you're not in time, go watch my video that I did yesterday. It's called Landing in Zero Visibility, Student Pilot Flying from San Francisco to Dallas. That's what it was. In the end, everything got messed up due to winds shifting. So we'll do ILS 29 via Hotel Romeo Victor. Add to route. Okay, that is set. And we will get rid of the 1-1 approach plate here. Did it recalculate our top of descent? Or didn't it? Oh, that's not great. Okay, there is still a discontinuity here. Let's clear this as well. Okay, it did make the proper calculations now. Let's get this up. And check that everything is in here all the way up to the approach, missed approach, alternate. Oh. Alright. So that is set, then we can restart entering all of this stuff. Wind is 2308 knots. If it was just 5 knots, they wouldn't have changed the runway, but if it's 8 knots already, the airport likely would have switched runways and we would have to switch runways. So transition level, flight level 180, and the approach minimas are, let's see, it's all zoomed in, 202 in terms of altitude, so we'll go Baro 202 because we're doing Cat 1, flaps full, and then these speeds make sense. Go around, engine out, acceleration is 3,000 feet for our missed approach. It's set, and we can go back to the normal performance page here. All set, auto brake. We're coming in from 2.9, so I would rather stop quickly and get off at Charlie, but we're not gonna make that. We're gonna try anyway, so we'll go medium auto brakes. It's also not the longest runway, so. And ice protection will be required soon. Since there are clouds and we're gonna be through freezing. I assume it wants them on already, so let's do that. And in terms of wing anti-ice, we're gonna leave that off for now, since that uses a lot of bleed air and we're not in icing currently. Then descent, so let's check, we are 54 miles away from the top of descent, and let's see what our altitude should be at Harvey VOR. Should be 3,000. See how our arrival brings us there. Yeah, we're gonna set 3,000 as our limiting altitude for Harvey. And the platform for the approach is 1,500, but we only get there once we get to Helmet, then we can start our descent. And it looks like we can also intercept the glide slope immediately from Helmet at 3,000, if the chart is correct. Yeah, so the chart is displaying a continuous descent all the way from Helmet to the threshold. However, you can also descend to 1,500 and use that as a platform, if the aircraft is able to intercept both at the same time, would be preferable, of course. And we have to keep that in mind, so we want to be configured to at least flaps 1, preferably flaps 2, before we get there. And that is our descent preparation is completed now. Alright, coming up about 40 miles from our top of descent. Starting from 20, we can already start our descent, because then the flight control computers the flight management computer will know that we are starting our initial descent. If you do it any earlier, it will think that's just a regular step descent for the en route section, and it will not continue nicely on profile. However, before we get to our descent, I'm gonna go overview everything quickly, that everything is nicely set up as required. Okay, this one will go on. That's all set. This is all as required. Weather radar, we want to select 5 degrees down. And if you want to know a more thorough explanation on why we select 5 degrees down, I also explained that in the stream we did yesterday. So yeah, go watch that after we're done, since we are almost there, and all the fun descending stuff is just gonna start pretty soon. Nice and short flights, short hop over to New Orleans. All right. Let's also take a look at the altimeter again. It's still 2999er. Weather in New Orleans is still very okay, to be honest. Yeah, no issues are expected. Yeah, it's actually looking pretty okay. 2999er, I'm gonna have that ready for when we descend through our... Yeah, when we descend through 18,000 feet is our transition level, so... Okay. Coming up on 20 miles from our top of descent. Alright, we will set our pre-selected altitude of 3,000 feet in our node control panel here. And as we get from 5 miles away, I'm going to pull the altitude button, and that will initiate our descent, and our airplane will go into descent mode, and it will nicely follow a profile that it pre-calculated. Yeah, and that means that it will use the least amount of engine power required, gently going down at idle thrust. Yeah, to be as efficient as possible and to burn the least amount of fuel as possible, since that's mostly what the airline wants. Okay, coming up on 10 miles, ready to descend. Let's get everyone in their seats. Yeah. Maybe don't have time anymore to get all of this. I can remove all of this stuff already. And then I'll enter the proper data. So we'll start our descent. We'll pull the altitude button. So we have manage descent, descent, mark, and altitude is armed. So right now, the airplane is going to start a descent, trying to follow the profile that it calculated. We're slightly below, as you can see. This green half dot here is the profile. It's going to start dropping down once we get to our profile. And the airplane will try to keep its speed in between this magenta area to be as efficient as possible. So you can see our profile is coming in, and once we intercept, our rate of descent will increase. Aha, okay. We were still typing here. I was struggling with my views, but we'll go K, Mike, Sierra, Yankee, which is New Orleans. We'll select the charts, and we'll get airport chart. We'll get the arrival procedure, and we will get the approach procedure, which is that's 29er. And we can see the arrival procedure that we are approaching Lima Sierra uniform pretty quickly now. And instead of going straight in, we will go all the way around. It's basically to make it a bit more complicated, in fact. If the weather had just stayed like it was, we wouldn't have had to do anything. So you can see we intercepted our profile and we doubled our rate of descent. If the airplane can't maintain speed within this region, we will have to deploy speed brakes, which are these. I have mapped them to a axis on my side stick, so I can deploy them easily. So you won't always see me do it maybe, but I am actively trying to control the speed if it was needed. So we are in our descent now. Okay, and now what we're watching for is 18,000 feet and then 10,000 feet, and that's when we will have to do some stuff. And also paying attention to our weather radars if we pick up any storms, maybe like this little mini cell there. It's not really anything serious yet. Alright, so the first speed restriction is going to be at Audad, where we want so we're landing at New Orleans Armstrong, so we want to be 250 knots, 1000 at Audad, and then we can start descending lower. Ending up at the Harvey VOR at 3,000 feet is the goal. And then we can, from there, fly our approach. Alright, monitoring everything nicely. Clouds have disappeared slightly, so I am starting to feel like having engine anti-ice on being a bit redundant, so let's switch these off. I can see our speed is trending up slightly. As long as we stay within the designated band, we should be fine. And we're not supposed to slow down to 250 yet anyway. The airplane will automatically do that once we reach this magenta dot, which will mean that we get to 250 at Audad. Also, another reason for a nice smooth descent without any level offs and a lot of engine power is for passenger comfort, because it's a lot more comfortable to be going down in a straight line compared to having to descend, level off again and again. You will feel g-forces that you don't need to if you just have a descent calculated by the computer very precisely, very nicely. Everything is flyable like this, and then you will have no issues normally. Alright, we are currently passing through flight level 200, and yeah, that means that we're approaching 18,000 feet. I have my altimeter setting of 2999 ready in my head, ready to enter this in here. Okay, they changed. It's now 2997. Alright. The clouds have risen up, so even less of a concern. Okay, everything is looking really great. There's 18,000 approaching, so 2997 set on all three. And check this out. Okay, on my tablet I still have the star up. So I'm gonna switch this view to the approach already. And the most important part is here. But first I'm gonna do a quick briefing on the approach. So what we're gonna be flying is the ILS runway 29 in New Orleans. 109.9 has to be set, so we'll go to RadNav and see 109.9 is set, with a final approach course of 286, and that should also be set. 286 is set. Airplane is slowing down as required, so that's nice. Our minimas are 202 right there. We need half a mile of visibility. We have 10 miles or more, so we have no approach ban, and missed approach is gonna be as published here. So climb to 600, then right climbing turn to 3000 direct to Romeo Quebec Romeo VOR and then hold, or as directed by ATC. If we have to go missed, we will perform a visual circuit or something that would resemble a circuit. We will be radar vectored by ourselves back onto the approach again. That's what we're gonna do. So our briefing is complete. I'm gonna put this vertical profile up here so that I can see that nicely. Give a quick glance of what our approach is gonna be looking like. Okay, looks pretty decent. Oh, and we are definitely not at 1,000. I don't know why this wasn't in the... Huh? Strange. Okay, let's just say that we got clearance for this. But the arrival definitely states that you want to be at 1,000. Oh, that's the expected clearance. Okay, it's in the small letters. Okay, this is fine, what we are doing currently. Yeah, sure. Zoom this one back in. Gonna be going through some clouds pretty soon. Let's check our temps. We are still in icing temperatures. So let's turn on engine and wing anti-ice. Once we pass Voodoo, we will activate the approach in order to get slowed down a bit as well. We can see part of the Gulf of Mexico already. Which all of our nice lovely passengers are gonna enjoy later today. However, we are not, since we are not really there. Maybe you are, I don't know. If you're there, do let me know, and let me know how it is, the Gulf of Mexico there. And if you're not from there, you can always let me know where you are from and how the weather and everything is like where you live. I would love to know how my viewers enjoy their days outside. Okay, so let's go activate the approach now. Select green dot speed. And we're ready for flaps once we get that speed lower and our altitude lower as well. We're not really ready for flaps yet, so but I'm hoping that we descend quickly because I feel like we're a little high. All right. 1,000 feet to go before we hit... almost 2,000 feet to go before we hit 10,000. Yeah, I misread that. Getting through some clouds. I'm using some speed brake to slow down. I feel like we are having too much energy again, so yeah, let's definitely use some speed brake to reduce that energy. Okay. Coming up on 10,000. Landing lights go on. Constraint is active, seatbelt signs are on. And we did check that the ILS is up, so we'll go landing system on. Got the ILS frequency in. Yeah, we're first gonna pass the airport, so it's gonna seem like we're very, very close. Which we aren't, luckily. Just quickly taking some screenshots for a thumbnail for next one. Alright, entered the clouds, got my anti-icing on, because we're still... Our static air temperature is 3, so the water could still freeze. Alright, once we get to 9,000, I'm going to select flaps 1. We are below flap speed. And yeah, just to get configuration ready. So speed check flaps 1. Alright, select the S speed in our speed bug. I think we'll only reach 3,000 once we get to helmet. Which means that I want to set... Once we start the turn, I'm gonna arm approach, get onto autopilot, which means that it will also intercept the glide slope at helmet. I could select 1500 here as well. I don't feel like that's gonna be necessary. We're gonna be going like this. Since we're heading a bit out, this turn should be made easier, because we're definitely not gonna do this. Alright. Our temps are almost outside of icing range, which means that I can switch that off pretty soon. We have data here. Stand outside, anti-icing off. Okay, it's a good thing that we're getting below the glide slope now, because you can never intercept it from above. You always have to intercept it from below to have a stable approach. It would be really, really difficult to properly intercept it from above. Unsafe as well, so that's why they don't do it. You always level off at a platform altitude and then intercept the localizer first and the glide slope second. So I have some speed breakouts. I should get a bit more. Get our speed to S speed, because before Harvey I want to go flaps 2 if at all possible. Actually not descending enough anymore to stay below the glide slope, and I would prefer to. All the way up to half, because more you shouldn't do autopilot. Alright, coming up on the speed soon. The slower we are, the easier the stern is going to be. I think 5,000 now. And I select. Let's make this 200 knots to be well below the orange sign for the flaps, which shows our flap limit speed. We are below our flaps limit speed, so speed is checked. Flaps 2. You see that the limit moves down there. Extra drag should help with the approach. There's our turn. Let's go ahead and arm approach. Second autopilot. So we're now glide slope and localizer are armed. I'll go speed to 180. Nicely intercepting, and we'll get on an intercept heading for the localizer. Let's say we are clear to land now, which would be nice, but we wouldn't be unless we call established, obviously. Okay. Like 165 for speed, that we don't need to power through that much. Approaching 3,000 here. So we're actually going to intercept first and then intercept that one, which doesn't feel that efficient. But sure is. So we did our approach checks. Approach checklist is complete. Once we get 2500, I will go gear down. And then once we have 3 green, 2000, we should go flaps 3 and flaps full. We can actually see the runway already. That's where we're going. Alright, everyone's strapped in. Let's give them a ring that we are about to land. Altitude, speed. We are turning now, so we are actually going to select 1500. Lodestar. Make this 1500. Okay, so we're gonna have to intercept because we're nowhere near the glide slope yet. So we're doing this nicely. Localizer. And around 2500 we should get our radio altimeter alive.
$2,500.
There it is. So we will go gear down. Gears out 3 green. Get our nose wheel, runway turn off light. Nose wheel to take off. Flaps 3, speed is checked. Speed managed. Cabin is ready. Leveling off. Alt star. Altitude. And now we're waiting for the ILS intercept, which should happen at Zutat, which is 4 DME from the runway. So 4.4 actually, which is now 2.2 away. Once we get there, I'll go flaps full. Okay, landing checks are completed, waiting for flaps full, to have ECAM no blue. One mile. Glide slope is alive. Half scale deflection. Let's wait for... There is 4.5. Glide star, which means that the airplane is intercepting. 4.4 glide slope. Speed is checked. Flaps full. ECAM no blue. And we are clear to land. So landing checks complete. We will go missed approach altitude 4000. 3000 rather is set. At 1000 I'll disconnect and fly manually. Normally you should at 400, but I'm gonna go earlier just because I want to fly a bit. There it is. Gears down, 3 green, flaps full. On glide, on localizer. And visual. And we are stable. Getting slightly low on our glide slope, so correcting. Slightly right correction required. Staying on here. Alright, still on here.
500.
Stable checked.
$400.
Landing. Get
300.
low. Correcting.
$200. $100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
And reversers. Oh, I'm really happy with this landing. Butter. Reversers. Back out. Manual brakes. Okay, we just missed this. So I'm gonna go. Can we go out here? Ah, that's nothing. Okay, we're gonna have to make a left here on Bravo. Taxi on this side, because I don't want to take up the runway all the way there. Alright, and once we're clear of the runway, I'm gonna immediately go do my replays to avoid having this bug happening. And then we're gonna taxi out. Experiencing a little bit of lag. I think it's the weather causing this. And I'll make a left here. I want to be up there at the new terminal building, because there's nothing really left here. It's the old one. So let's go into our replays and take a look how this landing went.
$200.
Oh, why is it picking this runway? Oh, there it is. You see? It's thinking that I already touched down. Nice deep grab. And I'm trying to maintain directional control with my ultra sensitive rudder pedals. Let's try from here. Is this the control tower? That's not good. Let's try to get it from the interior point of view. Look. Right here is where it thinks I touched down, which is not when I did. I touched down right here. How bizarre. hear the engines spooling up as well. That's the reversers. So that should be happening right now. Now, just a quick Stefan jury cam. You see the smoke? Alright. Actually really satisfied with this landing. So let's get our after landing checklists done. When we finally get off this runway. Okay, we are back in real time. So after landing checklist, landing lights go off, runway turn off, nose light to taxi, strobes to auto, spoilers disarmed, flaps up. Weather radar to off, engine mode selector is normal. And let's start the auxiliary power unit. So our taxi procedure that we're gonna do is we're gonna go over here, taxi all the way up to Delta, cross here, go Foxtrot, and park at that terminal. So this is Charlie. We want Delta, which is the next left. And our APU flap is open, so let's give it a start. And then, oh, we're going a bit too fast here. Gonna make a left on Delta. Let's say we are clear to cross runway 029er here. I have no idea why it's struggling so much with graphics. There's really nothing special about this scenery. And then we're gonna go that way on Foxtrot. Give it a bit of thrust. Actually want the wheel page up now. Okay, we have some hot brakes, so let's turn the brake fan on. It's to be expected when you use medium auto brake. To no avail, we didn't stop in time to vacate at the nice place, but this is also fine. Let's choose to park right next to the Delta 73. Clear left, clear right. Or let's make it the regional jet there. So we'll go straight in. Let's pretend we are being marshaled, but in fact, let's use the cheat cam. I will stop right here, that we can actually get our ground services some space. Parking brake is set, anti-icing is off, APU bleed is on, and then we can switch off our engines. Master 2 and then Master 1 are off. Well, that's fine. So we're shutting down. Timer stopped and seatbelts can go off. Alright, and then fuel pumps go off. Transponder to standby. And we're gonna leave this place like this and leave the brake fan on for a while since we still really need it. Get external power here and get my ground crew all here except for you and you. We don't need an ambulance. And that's all set. So, and we can actually shut down Mr. APU here for a sec because we don't want him here. Well, that's us done for today. I would like to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and give it a thumbs up for the butter landing and subscribe if you want to see more. Share with one of your friends if you think it's worth it. Anyway, I'd love to see you next time. Bye bye.